Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining for day 7 of Fintech Tour 21, the largest cluster of fintech events in the Middle East. I can't believe we're already on day 7. We've had so many great sessions over the last week, today, yesterday, and this is going to be added to the list. I'm really sure that we're going to have a great session today with the team over here. So I'd like to introduce Mustafa, who's going to be today, and Faisal Ahmed, who's going to be leading this session today. Today's session is going to be about DeFi, the future of finance. I'm really pleased to have a stellar group of individuals to ask everything about DeFi. Any questions you have, we love questions, so please do put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A, and we'll go through as many as we can. And just a very great thank you for all these panelists for being here with us. Mustafa's, of course, been a long-term supporter of the Fintech Tour and has had many sessions last year on blockchain, I think the year before on AI. And this year, when Mustafa asked us, what would you like us to do? I said, we've got to do one on DeFi. DeFi is a hot topic right now. It's something everyone needs to learn more about. So I really appreciate having everyone here today with us. So Mustafa, without further ado, I'll hand it over to you so we can get started.
Thank you, Sagar. Thank you everyone for attending this afternoon and this morning, depending on where you're connecting from. I'd like to thank the Saudi Central Bank and the Saudi Fintech Organization, to Sagar and to Al Johrat for arranging all this wonderful event. And what a fantastic tour it's been. I'm looking at the panelists and I'm looking at the different sessions, and a hearty congratulations to the entire Fintech Tour organization for arranging this. It's been wonderful so far. I am truly blessed today to have a very stellar, a fantastic panel to join me. And just a quick background on why we invited Nissim and their partners. Nissim is a company I've been admiring for many years. So I teach electronic commerce, and for about a decade, I've been looking at sites primarily in the United States, top-notch e-commerce sites. And when I had the opportunity of meeting Nissim's CEO and the chief operating officer, of meeting this company's top management, and Nissim is a leading Silicon Valley-based digital solutions provider. I was just very excited to see how we can bring a company like Nissim, which has a tremendous background in helping world-class organizations and companies with their digital backend. So very honored, and I consider it a privilege to be able to partner with them and represent them here in the Middle East. And Martin Lewitt, the Senior Vice President of Nissim International, is also joining us on this panel. Thank you so much, Martin. And Sebastian Martinez, also with Nissim South America and Chile, is also be joining us. And we have Miguel, and also we have Jaime joining us from South America, all from Chile. And Sebastian is the blockchain leader. He's in charge of a blockchain lab that Nissim has in South America. And we have Miguel. He's the CEO founder of QuantumX, a fintech solution company that does really cool things, developing fintech applications in South America. And Jaime Radenas, I hope I pronounced this correctly, is in charge of the blockchain. He's a leader in blockchain in Santiago Stock Exchange. So I'm so honored that they accepted my invitation to join us and to share their amazing knowledge base. And here's just some of the works that Nissim does. And because I've been talking about them for more than a decade in my classes, I consider them to be celebrities in my classes. And the Gaps, the Williams Sonoma, which is a fascinating site. Again, I just love talking about them, and now I get the opportunity of meeting them. So it's truly a pleasure and honor. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And to start off today's panel discussion, I mean, basically, we're going to have some presentations of these truly industrial practitioners in this space. And I'll have Martin Lewitt, who works with them directly in South America, to also join me, in introducing them. And especially since he works very closely with Sebastian Martinez in terms of on the blockchain lab. So we'll have Sebastian start, and Martin, please join me. And we'll have a fairly interaction session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. And good morning or good afternoon to everybody. Thank you so much for joining the session. To be honest, it's our honor to be able to participate in Fintech Saudi in the midst of very interesting and compelling and thought-provoking presentations and discussions about an area we feel very strongly about is being constantly disrupted lately. And when I started discussing with Mustafa about, well, Fintech Saudi is happening, what can we bring, to make it interesting, to create a good session? If we had an hour, what we would use? And I think we both agree about the possibility to look, obviously we want to understand, about DeFi and where is it going and how it's disrupting the industry, but also have some real life examples of, where are we going with all of this? What is actually happening today? And what does those implementation mean for the future? So I had the chance to work closely with Miguel when QuantumX was just being born. And they had a great vision about how we can use blockchain amongst other technologies to truly decentralize the way we do part of the financial parts of the financial services areas. And I'm sure Miguel will get a little bit deeper into that. And I thought that was an amazing experience to bring in. Jaime, the Santiago Stock Exchange have been very forward-looking in the implementation of new technologies. We've worked with Jaime in the past. Sebastian and Jaime have done a lot of presentations together in the past about what that means. And obviously that's why we invited Jaime. So thank you both for joining. And I've worked, hand in hand with Sebastian. We opened our first blockchain lab about, well, the pandemic kind of blurs the years, but I'm going to say about 3 years ago. And Sebastian has been constantly kind of doing the research as well as the development of different solutions. A lot of them in the financial services, in the fintech area, but also across other areas. And therefore, I think he brings kind of a unique perspective. Someone has been able to use a lot of his time to look into these things and understand, how is this technology disrupting? So we're very excited to participate in this panel. We look forward to have an interactive session. So I invite everybody to, interact with the panelists. We did our best to bring in some, divergent views from different parts, kind of, service area, platform startup, kind of a more traditional forward-looking area and a stock exchange, how those companies, how the world is looking at this from different perspectives. So hopefully it's going to be interesting for everybody. We look forward to your questions. I think Sebastian, goes first with kind of a brief intro, but Mustafa, I'm going to send it back to you as you're going to moderate fantastically as always. And once again, thank you very much for the invitation.
Thanks so much, Martin, for accepting, and thanks for joining us. And again, I'm just thrilled that we're having this, and I hope that your elbow is also doing well today. So thank you, everyone. And Sebastian, if you can, again, you're a leader in blockchain. You have built blockchain, and you're managing the blockchain lab with Listen. So I'd hand the mic over to you, Sebastian. So please start. You're most welcome to start sharing your screen and with the presentation. Sebastian, thanks so much. Good to see you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Mustafa, for the introduction, and thanks again for the invitation. So I feel very, very happy to have this opportunity. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay, so my objective in the next 5 minutes is to explain about what is DeFi, what is the difference between DeFi and the traditional finance, and then I'm going to speak a little bit what things we can do with DeFi, and then after my presentation, Jaime and Miguel, they have real examples working in production today. So, but in this kind of presentation, the most important thing for me is always the question. So I can present different things, but what I enjoy more is the end of the presentation and try to answer the question. So what is DeFi? What is DeFi? Basically, it's an umbrella term for different application project platforms that are generated in the public blockchain, and they're changing, reshaping the traditional finance world today. So in the traditional finance, we always have central institutions. This is basically because people don't trust each other. So we need intermediate institution in order to do transactions, to exchange money, to do business, basically. But in the decentralized finance, instead trusting in the financial institution, we trust in the technology. That is the main difference. So this is very important to understand that there is nothing in the middle, just technology. It sounds crazy, but it's happening today and it's reshaping the traditional finance. I'm not going to be more focused on the technology aspect. I will more focus on how we create a new kind of business using this amazing set of technologies. So some difference to understand more what is DeFi between the traditional finance. In the traditional finance, basically we exchange money as a fiat currency, and the cost of this money, the provider of this money, is centered by the government, banks, central institutions. And again, in DeFi is automatically regulated because of the blockchain technology. So we exchange stable coins. Stable coins at the end is a cryptocurrency that have a fixed value. We exchange different assets using technology. Peer-to-peer, when I say peer-to-peer, I mean people-to-people directly. That is the main difference. So related the execution, for example, who execute those transactions, of course, in the traditional finance, we have service providers. For example, PayPal is a service provider to move money from one country to another. On a DeFi platform, for example, we can use directly this platform using the smart contracts. Smart contracts are applications that are running on a public blockchain. In terms of the governance, this is a huge difference here. The governance on the traditional finance is set by the service providers. But in DeFi, the governance is set by the platform, I mean by the applications. So the company or the group of people that create those platforms, and you can check the source code. I mean, the source code is the programmer that are working that, creating those platforms. So it's open, so it's something very important here because everybody can have access to the platform and understand that set of rules. A question that is happening very frequently when we talk about this kind of new technologies is the security and the risk. Unfortunately, there are always risks. In DeFi, the most critical risk and the aspect is the people need to understand this technology and take care of the wallets, because it's like the user is the one that assumes the risk. So it's important to understand that and have precaution using this kind of technology. These are the main difference. We have more difference, but in order to explain what is DeFi, I think it's important to understand this basic difference against the traditional finance. So what we can do with DeFi? DeFi today has a lot of different kind of uses and applications, creating new kind of financial services and tools. We can use it for savings, insurance, tokenization, decentralized exchange, stable coins. But for me, the most relevant aspect of DeFi and the most exciting things we can do is the asset management. When I say asset management, I'm going to give an example. Imagine that you have a company that creates infrastructure, okay? And you have a project and you need to create a bridge, okay? You need to build a bridge and you don't have money for that. One thing is go to a bank, ask for money, and another thing that is possible today with DeFi, you can create a platform to have like small investors to your project, and you can say, okay, I'm going to represent that bridge into 1 million tokens. Okay, I put those tokens in an exchange so everybody can participate on my project and buy those tokens. Okay, and I open this to a platform. So people are going to start buying those tokens, for example, I buy 10 tokens. Okay, so that means that I have a small portion, a small part of that bridge, because I have those tokens. And then I can create different kind of business rules. So every time that a car closes that bridge, they have to pay. And every time a car pay, I will receive a small revenue because I have a part of that bridge. I am co-owner of that project, so represented by the tokens. And then I can put those tokens into a different exchange and sell those things. But it's a possibility to create business quickly without any kind of intermediary institution. So this is happening today. And I mean, a lot of projects today are using DeFi to have the possibility to have money very quickly, and also to share revenues with investor very quickly using smart contract and have everything on the platform. Those kind of things happening today. So it's very important to get involved in this kind of technology very quickly, because it's the time right now. So talking about examples, now I'll give the floor to Miguel. Miguel is going to share us the platform, the exciting thing he's doing on DeFi also. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sebastian. Miguel will have you share your screen and start your presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sebastian, very much.
Great. Thank you, Sebastian and Mustafa, for the introduction. Please, you can confirm that you can see my screen now?
Yep, I can see.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, hello, everyone. I'm very excited to share my 2 cents on this space, and happy to receive any questions at the end of the presentation. So, firstly, I will explain QuantumX. So we build white label platforms that help financial institutions to digitize, streamline, and automate the origination and management of financial instruments. So we try to provide a simple digital workflow for all participants to reduce friction, times, costs. So regarding the problem that we see in the financial markets, so we have worked for many years with financial institutions. We learned that the financial system processes have some problems, such as they are very manual, they are too fragmented, not integrated with other platforms, and basically they are based on outdated systems. So financial institutions are still running on 20 or maybe 30-year-old software. So they are looking for new stack developments. So we have some statistics here that more than 70% of the traditional financial institutions are reviewing their core banking platforms, and they are actually looking for these new stack developments, aiming at lowering IT costs, being more user-centric, and having more scalable and interoperable platforms. So it's not a secret that this market is growing fast, the fintech market. So that's because the digital adoption in the financial system has taken a quantum leap during the last 2 years due to the COVID-19. And for instance, in 2020, the global enterprise spend on software in the banking industry was $72 billion. So it's a lot of money that could be saved thanks to these new technologies. So regarding our solution or our product, so we provide a software as a service platform that provides automation, interoperability, and scalability to the financial system. And we have 3 business areas. So the first one is the origination and management of loans, like mortgages, for example. Second one is the origination and management of syndicated loans, and also of other financial instruments such as private equity and real estate. So there are many applications of this technology. but you need to understand very well where to aim at and why are you using the technology to solve the problems that you foresee in a certain occasion or a certain use case. So that's Quantum X introduction. Now I'm going to speak about the crypto bonds project that we developed jointly with the Central Bank of Chile and the Central Custodies Depository, also from Chile. So this is in the context that most of the central banks in the world are experimenting with blockchain technology. For instance, Singapore and Thailand started this route 5 years ago already. So they divided the experimental projects through the time, and they have acknowledged like really good results so far. But it's a long way. There is a lot of to be understood here, and there are some complexities that need to be addressed. So regarding the crypto bond project, we proposed a conceptual model and a pilot execution for the primary issuance of bonds of the Chilean Central Bank through the use of a platform based on blockchain technology. So the development was structured through general and specific objectives. So the project's general objective was to study the adoption of new technologies applied to processes where the central bank currently plays a relevant role. And the specific objectives was to evaluate the technical feasibility of the primary issuance of the central bank's financial instruments on a distributed ledger technology such as blockchain. So regarding the results, so there are some pictures of that we took during the project. So regarding the results, we managed to perform a digital process without friction in seconds instead of days, avoiding unnecessary intermediaries. Okay. So the main results of this project were presented in the OECD Blockchain Policy Forum in Paris by the Chilean Central Bank's governor, and then in the Convention of Central Banks of the LATAM in November of that year in Mexico. So regarding the details of this project, we implemented a private Ethereum network, and the platform was able to interoperate with legacy systems through sending and receiving Swift messages from the blockchain platform to the DLT manager, which was an application built to receive messages and generate tokens in the wallets of the financial institutions that were in our platform. So that's mainly what we did here. So it was a very interesting initiative led by the central bank and also the CSD. And I'm happy to have any questions you have about this project.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you very much. Very informative. And since we talked about the central bank, let's look at the Chilean or Santiago Stock Exchange. And I'm very happy to welcome Jaime Pradenas to join us and to share with us his insights and experiences in working on, as he's leading the blockchain initiative at the Stock Exchange in Santiago. Jaime, please join us.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you all. I'm going to share my screen and I'll start.
Thank you.
Sure. Can you confirm that you're I'm sharing correctly, please?
Yeah,
I can see. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. Actually, I'm very excited to share my experience and what we are doing in the Santiago Stock Exchange and AUNA, and more than happy to stay with all of you here today. As Mustafa said, my name is Jaime Pradenas, and I'm in charge of the business strategy and the product roadmap of AUNA. AUNA is a joint investment initiative financed by the Santiago Stock Exchange the Central Depository of Chile, who is in charge of the custody of the assets, and GTD. GTD is a very important telecommunication company here in South America and also with operations in Europe. We have a blockchain platform and a blockchain ecosystem up and running since February 2021. And we're really excited about what we are doing today. But first things first, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the Santiago Stock Exchange, who we are, what we are doing, and why we are doing this, and as a small introduction. So basically, the stock exchange is the most important stock exchange in Chile, with 128 years old. And in the stock exchange, the issuers can find the funds that are looking for, and the investors can find the different alternatives for their investments, like equities, ETF, fixed income, etc. And I think that was 2 weeks ago that we announced the creation of a venture capital market for institutional investors called Scalex. But what is really important regarding to this slide and the context of this conference is that more than 60% of the incomes of the Santiago Stock Exchange comes from technology. We are the main solution provider for the financial market in Chile. Our team are conformed by product owners, software developers, and other positions, all specialists in creating products for the financial market. So this is why a stock exchange is working in this kind of projects. We also have property of two very important companies in this chain of value, which is the Central Depository. As Miguel said before, there are many important projects that they are working with blockchain, and also the CCLB, which is the clearing counterparty in Chile. So, as I said before, the stock exchange is a technological company focused in developing innovative products for the financial market. But we realized that in this time of accelerated changes, we can do everything by our own. So first, we decided to look up to other companies to start this journey together. And we were really lucky to found the Central Depository and GTD. We merged the vision that we had for the financial market and blockchain technology. And we're convinced that it's a fundamental piece of this future that is every time it's closer, this future, you know, it's now. Secondly, we decided to focus our work in two aspects, a platform and an ecosystem. We created a blockchain platform, which helped you as a company to develop your solutions, accelerating the time to market. And we did this based in the knowledge that we've got in building blockchain solution as a technological stock exchange. We've been doing this for a while. So therefore, our platform is a whole of best practices for developing complex decentralized applications. So this is based in the actual knowledge that we have building solutions. Thirdly, we knew, even though we are important companies with a lot of experts, that we had to open arms and hack other companies in order to give them tools to try blockchain, to develop applications for the financial market. So we created a partnership model where there are more than 20 companies working in different aspects today. Nowadays, these companies are part of our ecosystem. Some of them are developing the apps from scratch. The apps are decentralized applications. Others have came to us to present very important projects, proposing different business relationships in order to boost their go-to-market, for example. And we are also working with very important consulting companies to propose projects, blockchain-based, of course, to other companies, and so on. So these are very dynamic times, and we don't want to miss the momentum that blockchain has. Okay, this is our basically the roadmap that we envision about the blockchain solutions. And the very first solution created by us was the securities lending repository, a solution integrated in the actual process of short sales in the equity market. And as you know, a short sale is a financial operation that you do when you believe that the market will go down and you want to invest in a particular stock, for example. So you go to the market in order to borrow one particular stock. A lender will give it to you, asking for a rate in return. Basically, you are renting the stock, right? So you as a short seller are going to sell the stock that you got. And eventually, if the market goes down, you are going to buy those stock in order to return it to the lender. In that process, there were a lot of frictions related to collaterals, for example, and the stock exchange was in the middle on the operation. So what we did was decentralize our interaction in the operation and program the rules in smart contracts. So if those rules are okay, the operation will flow. The result was amazing. We accelerate one particular process from 3 days to 90 seconds. And the market nowadays is more liquid because of this. Secondly, during the pandemic time, we realized that the shareholders meetings had to be online. Okay, we were not able to interact each other. We all know that. So we took a solution from remote voting and we implement blockchain as a backbone, which helped these companies to complete their shareholders meeting with fully transparency and traceability regarding to the votes. So we're more than happy running these two apps nowadays in Auna. There are many other use cases that we will be glad to create or promote with our different partners. As I said before, we are not doing everything by our own. There are many companies which are working with us in different alternatives, with different projects. And this roadmap represents an idea, okay, of different solutions that we would like to onboard, like, for example, asset tokenization, bond issuance, mortgage, clearing and settlement in the future, etc. So in order to finish my presentation, I would love to invite you to visit our website and also our LinkedIn website. Follow us in LinkedIn, check our blogs on our website. And as I said, thank you all for listening to me, and I'm more than happy to answer the questions that you could have.
Thank you, Jaime. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the panel members for very enlightening presentations. I appreciate that. So in terms of session, we're done with the presentation, and thank you again for the panel members for their time. So we'll open up the floor for questions now. So I'm going to go through the Q&A section. And so to the audience, as you have any queries, any questions you have, please do post them. I guarantee you won't find a better panel to answer them. So please do go ahead and share your questions. And after that, we will also have a discussion with the panel members also. So the first question by somebody anonymous asking you, what is the future of digital currency? Okay, so maybe we can have, I would like to, ask Sebastian, because he's worked with, in this space. Yeah, can I, please, Sebastian?
I can share my point of view with that.
Thank you.
So first we need to understand that the first cryptocurrency, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, the price always change very fast. So the people use those tools to invest, to try to make more money. That was the first stage of the cryptocurrency. But then, because of DeFi, we have the stable coins. So the stable coin is something that is a real tool to make transactions. It's completely different as a Bitcoin, because the stable coins are created to have a fixed value. How this fixed value works, we have different strategy on the stable coins. The first one is to have the token or the coin pegged to a fiat currency like a dollar, for example. you have USD, you have we have a couple of this kind of stable coins working today. So another example that is more technological about the exist platforms that they create those stable coins with a fixed price without any kind of backup. So this is interesting because these stable coins, they have some mechanism that the price is set because of the coins, because you have like a central bank digital creating, supplying or desupplying the coins. So without kind of mechanisms that are very complex, you have a fixed price. So those things happening today. So, but the main point here is that on the digital currency, the governments are the ones that are working today, creating like a coin for each country. This is happening. So in the future, we will have your local money and your local money digital. So that thing is going to happen. It's happening right now. But we have another alternative, these kind of stable coins that are growing up very fast today in the market. So to summarize that, digital currency is happening. So it's something that we will get used in the near future. That's my point of view on that.
Thank you, Sebastian. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for your insights. Very, very valuable. Thank you very much. Second question about how can development banks such as World Bank, African Development Bank, and Islamic Development Bank take advantage of DeFi? So Miguel, as you're working with, you have experience working with banks in Chile, can you address this question about development banks working with decentralized finance, please?
Sure, happy to take that question. So that's a good question because there is a kind of steps that I would recommend to follow in order to execute this kind of projects. So the first step would be to understand the technology. So they should generate the minimal internal capabilities in order to absorb the knowledge necessary to have something running, or at least at a conceptual level. So the second step would be to generate or to introduce a roadmap. Yeah. So this could take years from the understanding of the technology until you are able to execute a project in production. So that's why the banks in Asia, the Bank of England, Sweden. So that's why so many central banks and Ministry of Finance are having these roadmaps in place. And the third step would be partner with fintechs or private entities. It's impossible, in my opinion, it's impossible to do it by yourself. I would say that the ecosystem is very collaborative. I've seen competitors collaborating in projects. So given that this is a new technology, still green, and you need to generate the infrastructure in order to gain mass adoption of the solutions. And as an example of the relevance of this topic, I will introduce the concept of central bank digital currencies. So here on this slide, you could see so many countries, so many central banks that they are already having these central bank digital currencies plans in place. So this is linked to the money, of course, of programmable money, and that need to be connected to the asset part. So we have those two words running on the same ledger. So that's why you gain a lot of efficiencies, and also you can have you don't need so many intermediaries in the process. So that would be my answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Tariq also has a question regarding Islamic finance, right, which are asset-based. So maybe I'll ask one of our panel members. I know Taha Nasir, who is a lecturer in finance. He's in the panel. He's in the audience. Taha, you want to take that? Sorry to put you on the spot, but maybe you don't have sound off access, I don't think. But are you there, Taha? No issues. In terms of, I think in terms of financial instruments such as non-asset based, such as this one, I think there are some issues there. But again, I'm not an Islamic finance guru, so I cannot really address that one. Let's go to the second. Is DeFi is relatively small today. Do you think it continues to grow? Will regulators ban it, or will they get more, on top of it in terms of control for this? Now it's open to any panel member. Yeah.
I will have my 2 cents, and I think Jaime
Yes.
has probably the closest to this type of work, and I would love to hear Jaime's take on this. Honestly, we haven't discussed it before, but in my experience, as these things, technology disruptions happen, what tends to happen is technology tends to move faster than companies are able to adopt it. And then companies tend to move faster than governments are able to regulate. But eventually those 3 worlds tend to collide, right? As the technologies become more mainstream, more companies tend to invest in it because the return is more certain. As more companies invest on these technologies and they become more mainstream, they have more use and therefore higher impact on the economy. And at that point, governments and non-governmental organizations across the world tend to look at it and say, okay, this is fantastic for the value that it adds. And I think, from what Sebastian told us about the different applications, from what we've seen Miguel done, across with different central banks, and we saw what Jaime has done from the stock exchange market, you start seeing the value, right? But at some point, we're going to ask, okay, the value is great, but what are the rules of the game, right? And right now, there are some regulations. Some countries have moved faster than others. And then, centralized finance, we know as traditional finance today, when the stock markets were created and so on, also was deregulated on a way. And then eventual regulation comes. I think it's a when, not an if.
Martin, you're mute now.
Sorry, I apologize. If he's going to show us anything, it's a when and not an if. But it's also could be, depending on how it goes, provide some of the guardrails for it to truly be exponentially across the world. Jaime, I don't know if you see it the same way or what has been your experience when working with these technologies.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Basically, when on the one hand, when we decided to start working with blockchain, we decided to start with a use case that wouldn't need regulatory change, because we knew that that could take years. Okay, but on the other hand, we've seen a lot of new information, a lot of new interest from the regulator. Okay, in this kind of technologies, and that's why I think we've seen today in Chile a new law regarding to Fintech. Okay, and maybe it is not perfect, maybe, but it is a good advance, in this particular aspect. As you guys know, the Santiago Stock Exchange is a very high regulated company, so we have a very close relationship with the regulator in this case. And we know that they are concerned about this, and we've seen many startups, pushing the barrier of the regulation farther and farther away, and this is why they are always trying to catch, the startups. I mean, I'm talking about the regulators. So the more innovation we will see, the farther has to be pushed the regulation. This is how I see this, and I think that We have to follow the ideas of countries that already have, you know, very good regulation in this aspect. I think that we have to learn from them and try to implement the best that we could. This is my opinion in this particular.
Sure. Thank you both, Martins and Amy, for addressing that. I know there's a number of students that are in the entrepreneurship space that are joining here. So, you know, they want to know what are some of the, you know, the best blockchain business model you see, or, you know, what are some startups, maybe some hints for budding entrepreneurs. Anybody want to take that in terms of, you know, what sort of blockchain business model would somebody recommend for an entrepreneur? Let's say.
I can take this one. The best blockchain business model is Bitcoin. That's basically Bitcoin. But sure. Then this is something personal, but for me, the asset management is a great example of using blockchain and DeFi. So today we have the possibility to represent something physical or something that we are going to create and split into digital parts and do business with that. So this is open new financial system for startup, for example, for new companies that they need money as soon as possible and they don't have the access to go to the formal market because sometimes requires a lot of procedures and it's difficult. So this is an opportunity to create market, to create business, to create platforms, and to access money very quickly. So it depends on what you like, the best use cases, because you can apply blockchain and DeFi for any kind of business.
I would like to complement that. As a Santiago Stock Exchange, we decided to invest in this technology since 2016. And it was because we realized that blockchain has the ability to eliminate central entities as notaries, banks, stock exchanges, etc. And this is part because blockchain allow us to make peer-to-peer exchanges and making simpler and faster and more transparent and many processes with very high security, with high traceability. And these are characteristics that we need not only in the financial market, but in every industry. So we believe that blockchain will continue developing in two different streams. Okay, and this is regarding to the question. The stream of the crypto assets and the stream of improving processes. Okay, and on the one hand, the stream of the crypto assets has all these DeFi solutions, the decentralized the DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations, and many other different new use cases that you could create that are amazing. But on the other hand, we can talk about the blockchain related to processes. And in that case, I think that the federated blockchain or private blockchain used by companies for including the way how they are doing their things, maybe is a good election, you know, and you can create a good business case, you know, a good business model. For example, working with different competitors, you know, you can create industry solutions, you know, working together with different competitors, and that is something amazing that blockchain has.
Great. Also, blockchain and open banking. Can blockchain support open banking? Interesting question. There are major blockchain, open banking initiatives, especially around this region. And can blockchain support that?
I can take that. We can see DeFi as a disruptor changing everything, or we can see DeFi as a tool to improve different kind of business. So I think for this kind of open banking initiative, get involved on blockchain and DeFi is another tool that they can have to provide better service. So I don't see un yes or no. I see like a complementary tool for that.
Okay, thank you. When stakeholders participate in the creation of smart contracts, does it contain the business rules itself in the smart contracts?
So,
Yeah.
smart contract are basically the source code of the DeFi application or any kind of blockchain application. So, depends of the project. If you create a project involving the stakeholders on the beginning, you can create those rules together and represent the rules on the behavior of the platform. You can do that, of course. But most of the platform and project, they are already done. So you can get involved and you can understand those rules in the white paper, for example, or in the smart contracts. The smart contract is the rules of the business. Yes.
Sure. The question regarding, we've been talking about finance, also in medical field, can blockchain be utilized in medical technologies, in medical, in generally speaking, records, etc., etc.?
Yeah, for example, what is going on with medical and blockchain? So yeah, it's related with the medical records, the best use cases today, because it's a way that you can, it's creating new business also, because if you have, I don't know, for example, if you have some kind of strange disease or something and you have a lot of information, so maybe you want to share that information to another medical institutions in order to have better research on this kind of disease. So, but you want to make money for that. So you can put some information on a platform and you can receive money for that. This is something to exchange information and tokenize information and do trading with information. It's something that blockchain is very useful for that. So, and it's happening. So,
sure.
Yeah.
This is far from my business. Oh, sorry, Martin.
No, go ahead.
Just a few seconds. Yeah, no, this is far from my business, but what Sebastian said is true. You know, regarding to the medical records, if I go to one particular hospital and they have all my information, and then I want to go to another one and they probably don't have all the information, if we could create a blockchain, network connecting all the different participants there, and they can share information one each other, you could improve that system in a very high way. And what is really amazing in this case is that on the one hand, you will have the transparency and also the privacy that you want to have. But on the other hand, you can create a business model or like the one that Sebastian we're talking. Right? Martin, please go ahead.
I was just going to add briefly, it's a very interesting question, right? I think that as you have seen from the panel, we are at a very, I may sound redundant, but a very interesting point, which is kind of a nation technology, right? With a lot, but at a point where there's enough practical application already that we start dreaming about where this is going, right? So, for example, to get away a little bit about medical records, and other areas of medical where you can see applications, you can think about medical research, right? So not just your personal records, but is where we all jump to. But if you think about medical research, right? So you want to reproduce the data, you want to share the data, you have a lot of data privacy concerns, you have a lot of patient enrollment in clinical trials that you need to, remain confidential, and you need to do it efficiently and properly. So when you start decentralizing that, and you can assure, without having to share, you can assure the consistency and integrity of the information while remaining private and being decentralized and more secure, you can start seeing how you can create ecosystems that are very, very powerful. Now, is that going to happen in the next 6 months? That's unlikely, right? And it's not just a technology challenge. There's a lot of business challenges. There's a lot of people, institutions that need to agree on this for this to happen. But this is where you see the real power, right? You can create that, and now you can decentralize the data. Now, when you run in the medical research, I'm just taking that part because it was part of the question. You can do it more efficiently and more securely, and you can get a lot of the cost of having that centralized data that needs to be protected, that needs to be ensured that it's true, and so on. When you decentralize it, you get a lot of the efficiency that comes to the process. Medical records is probably the biggest one, but just wanted to show kind of a different path within the same area that you get. There's a lot of interesting applications that we expect at least to come in the near future. So I think that's where will be the interesting part.
Sure. There's a few questions on the security side of things, and how penetratable is it, and so in terms of so I'm just going to bundle a few questions. One, is blockchain, from your experiences, something that is purely secure? Is it not penetratable in terms of security aspect of it?
I can take that one. It's a very difficult question. So first we need to think how is the capitalization of the Bitcoin value today. So, and it's a lot of, I don't have the number right now in my mind, but it's growing very fast, and we change Bitcoin every day and represent $1 billion. So it's secure, but it depends of, it's a lot of multiple factors, depend of the kind of blockchain, depend of what kind of blockchain do you have in terms of what algorithms do you use, if you use proof of work, if you use proof of stake, because maybe there is blockchain that is a lot of, there could be blockchain very centralized, that is not secure. So the blockchain has to be decentralized in different countries, different nodes. So that is the main point. Private blockchain are not secure, for example. So if you want something secure to work on this kind of application, today, the best option is Ethereum. You have to use Ethereum because it was working for years. It's very secure. It's very distributed. Create smart contracts are not difficult. The security today, if you use this kind of public blockchain, you have to be careful on this. How do you programming those smart contracts? That is very important to have good developers, to also, once you have your applications, to go to a different companies to do some kind of ethical hacking on those smart contracts. That is very important. But the infrastructure today on Ethereum is very solid. It's very secure.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Just to complement what Sebastian said. So there are two key aspects here regarding the application layer. So the first one is the privacy protocols, and the second one is the smart contracts applications. So the thing is, there are like many networks like Ethereum, but there is a nascent industry or nascent networks that are related to Ethereum or related to other networks, but that they are using the code, but they are not necessarily the network or Ethereum network itself. So and why? That's because Ethereum had very high transaction costs. So the gas that they used to transact within the network was very high during the last 2 years. That means that these other networks are very cheap to transact, but they are using the same standards. So the key thing here is to have the same standards in order to interoperate among platforms, among networks, and that is something that is in development right now. So I would say that you need to be very aware on what network are you building, and how do you think this network will evolve in the future? Because some of them, they really have this kind of security problems, or maybe they already had it. So there is one, for example, that there was hacked a couple of months ago, and someone stole like a lot of money. So obviously you need to use networks that they are proven, that that they are having these protocols in place in order to safeguard the funds and also the investors' information within the network.
Yeah, I would like to complement just with few ideas. Yeah, I think it also will depend on the use case that you're creating. You have to be aware of what is the throughput of the network, And if you are choosing a public blockchain who is behind of that project, if you are choosing, for example, a private project, which is the community which is evolving that project as well, and you have to build the correct infrastructure for the project that you are doing. So I think that you will never have a fully security software, because there are many aspects that you could be, hacked, like for example, smart contracts, as Miguel said. But we as technological people, we have to try to find the best way how to create the solutions, using the particularities that one specific technology has for every use case. So this is my final point here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we still have a lot of unanswered questions, but we'll take a note of that and maybe get back to the audiences on a separate note. But I think we need to close here. I'd like to thank again the panelists for taking time out from across the oceans and joining us. Thank you, Sagar and Aljora and the whole FinTech Tour organization. It's a fantastic event. Thank you, audience. You've been a great audience. Thank you for the questions. Thank you again, panel, and looking forward to continue the conversations and catch up on another session soon.
Thanks, Mustafa. Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
Jamie,
Thanks, Sagar.
Sebastian, Marty, and Miguel.
Thank you guys for the invitation. Bye-bye.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you all for joining as well. We have got other FinTech Tour sessions as well. So we've just put in the chat a few ideas of other sessions you might want to join. If you enjoyed this, then definitely it's worth joining some of the other sessions we have during the tour. Given this is such an exciting topic, given we've still got so many outstanding questions, I think we're going to have another session, Mustafa. We're going to have to bring you back in.
We'll have to.
In the new year, and the team here to have another more detailed workshop about FinTech. But unfortunately, that's
happy to.
Thank you all for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Everybody, thanks for the invitation.
Take care.
True pleasure
Take
for
care.
all of us. Great to see so many questions. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.